of you. My Finnish is almost impossible or non-existing, so I won't try. I tried once, and that is when I speak like 5-6 languages, so I used to be able to manage, but in Finland it's totally impossible. Was with one supplier once, and we were eating sausage with a lot of mustard, and we had a sauna and pool, and I heard them talking and say, it would be great to go to bed after this fantastic meal. Then they took us out to the restaurant to eat. So you are a bit in disfavor. Well, this picture has two important parts, I feel. One is a journey, that for us it is a journey. It's very difficult to say, when did we start? And is it Lean, or is it Scania Way, or is it the Agile, or whatever it is? It's not really important. But I think it is important that it is a journey. Because it's so easy for people to forget to make this journey so that everyone knows how and what it is about. Got one feedback from my son. He's 24. He has a couple of friends who started working at Scania, and he said, "Hey, Dad, can't you talk to the guys in production about Lean, because they haven't understood anything about it." I said, "But that's the best, the area where we are the best, so how come?" No, I said his friends were just placed in the line saying, follow the instructions and shut up. That was their feeling. And I think it is connected to not letting them do the journey, because the journey is already done, but you need to make it all over and over to be able to improve and to understand why you're doing things. The other important part of this picture is Lean-agile, because when we started speaking more seriously about Agile, like 5 years ago, it was a surprise for many within R&D, but we've done this since 2005, so what's new? And somewhat it was a buzzword, saying that Agile is good, so let's do it. And what does it mean? Well, it's good, so let's improve. Okay? But all the Lean legacy we have. And then I'm talking in R&D, talking about Lean product development, not only Lean production, which is more about flow. And then after quite a lot of discussions of what should it be and what shouldn't it be, we came to an agreement that it's Lean Agile transformation we're doing. So we don't want to lose anything, but we want to add something. Because that was a bit the risk we were feeling we were having also. The risk of saying Agile is wrong because we are Lean, then we won't even listen to the improvements that we have as a possibility. So those two parts are important. About myself, I'm almost born at Scania. My father started when I was 2 months old, so I've been very much indoctrinated into Scania. Went to Brazil as a 5.5-year-old. Then my smaller brother went to my mother to ask how bad a word is Volvo, because he knew it was very bad. But was it really a swordom, so we could never use it? Or? And when we went out in the roads and getting to know Brazil, we got 10 cents for every Scania we met. And then in 75, Volvo entered. So if we saw Volvo, it was a withdrawal of a crowd. So it was really building up this competition. And I think that is one of the reasons why Scania and Volvo are so successful. That we have been competing in the small country of Sweden and doing it in a strong and fearful way as well. I always want to learn, so I like the sponsors slogan there. Learn from the best, but you can learn from anyone. I said that many times. It's try to explain it to your mother or to your children, and if you don't succeed, try to learn from that as well. Because that is something that may guide you. Yesterday we had a meeting with the speakers, which was very nice, a good way of getting into the conference, and I shared one story that one of both sons came and said, "But what do you do? We really want to understand what you do." Because I've been working with, for all my work life, or since the beginning of the 90s at least, with the improvement activities, and I've always done it as part-time job. But since 2017, I'm doing it as full-time, working with the coaching and the transformation now. And they said, "But what do you do?" Well, I said, "But I help people improve their way of working and be more efficient and more effective." And they looked at me and said, "But that they could do alone, so what do you do?" And I think that is a good question for all of us in the coaching position to think about: how do we add value? And what should we do and what shouldn't we do in order to be successful? And also wanted to talk a bit, learning outside of the box is one way of doing it, because many times we're a bit reluctant on going to conferences or listening to others, because we have so much job to do and we can learn in our own environment, and that's the efficient way. But I always try to learn more. So one organization I'm working a lot with is the Lean Product and Process Development Exchange. I have 2 yearly conferences and a virtual summit every month, which I organize. And that is a way of keeping on the edge and trying new things. Also, as I'm organizing it, I can also choose the speakers a bit, so we can stretch the limits of what we teach and what we learn. We do that one together with the Lean Institute of Finland and Juha, which is glad, so I'm happy to be more connected to Finland. Next week I'm going to do a speech on hardware development with the Agile Lean approach with Gladwell Academy in Munich. And of course we are here in Tampere with Agile Finland and Wiki Agile. So I think it's a good way of meeting people in other environments also and trying to learn from each other, and also seeing, and every time we have a networking, we try to start by saying, okay, what would you like to learn from us, and what would you like to teach us? And we've started one of those together with our friends at Wärtsilä, and hope to learn even more together. Because even if it's not exactly the same, we can always learn. The challenges then for product development, what we call the designer's dilemma, is that we need to take all the decisions very early in the process, when we know the least. And then when we have a lot of knowledge about the product, then we could make all the decisions, but it's too late. So what we want to do is to push the knowledge and build it faster, but also shorten or take the decisions later by developing incrementally and testing fast. And in the end, shortening the time And one way of understanding this, I think, is in the Canadian model. Talking about we have a simple environment, we have complicated, complex, and chaotic. And we feel that we're moving from complicated to complex, which means that we need to embrace parts like MVPs and testing fast and learning faster and not being focused. And one of our problems, maybe in Scania, is that we are a top quality brand and we really want to have it perfect before we leave it. And learning to work with MVPs is a challenge. But I think that is a critical part of being faster and learning faster, because we need to have more decisions on per time unit. So the decisions need to be made by people out in the business where the knowledge is. And then work more with sense and adjust to test, learn and adapt instead of just going for the perfect solution. And assure that we have a customer value pool, of course. Then the theory, and as I said, I feel it's more about theories, because I've seen this picture or way of seeing the world many times, that you have different schools, especially if you have a junior consultant with his or her knowledge, they will have the solution for you. We only need to assure that new products are adapted to lean manufacturing, that's all. Or we need to apply the methods from lean manufacturing on product development. And many times, if you don't know what it is about, just thought about one story a friend of mine at Goodyear tells sometimes, is that they made the start in product development just like in production with 5S. You need to have order in your work area. So they were going around and around, checking with management, top management, and they found a disaster. They found a banana on a table, on the designer's table. That was out of standard. So they had to have a crisis meeting, and they decided that if there was something out of standard that would be eaten in 15 minutes, it was okay. Otherwise, it was not. And it's such a good example of the stupidity of not understanding 5S and not thinking even after. Because if you can use common sense, it's much, much better. And many times it's all about common sense. The Toyota product development system, that's of course the best, because everything Toyota does is correct and the best. Or a principle-based view, where new methods are checked against the lean product development principles. Or maybe a problem-based view. Or why not just use good methods, which we already have, and call it lean. As within lean product development, they've chosen to have or stage gate as the enemy, saying that is the slow, bad way of working. So Bob Cooper, Professor Cooper, he has started, he went around and presented lean stage gate, Lean-agile stage gate, Lean-agile startup stage gate, trying to stress. If you look at it positive, he was trying to stress that stage gate, you don't need to be stupid, you can use common sense also, so why should you only follow the checklist? You should think. But then we got a new hero, Agile, came in to save us. And looking at it in a more calm way, okay, we have a typical lean circle presented by Womack and Jones in '96, that we should start by looking at what kind of value stream do we have, and create a flow and establish a pull from the customer, and finally ending seeking perfection. We have this view from Michael Kennedy et al. That we're really building knowledge in product development. And then we have, we pull out products through projects, which is somewhat correct, and it's somewhat different from traditional production, because in production we have one flow. Of course we're building knowledge, but it's much more limited. But within product development we have much more need to build knowledge before, to see what we can do. And going to a part of lean product and process development, then we have Alan Ward's principles on that we should focus on creating usable knowledge and reusable knowledge to eliminate waste. So we shouldn't invent the same thing again. And we should synthesize the knowledge into trade-off curves so we can see it visually. And that is something I feel we have forgotten a lot, using curves to show knowledge. And the best presentations I've seen at Scania on this is when engineer is just pulled into a meeting and say, please tell us the situation, because then it's normally a curve they draw. But we were at the Chalmers University of Technology in Gothenburg talking about this and looking at all the school books for engineering, filled with formulas, no curves. So I looked back and there were old books in the bookshelf from the 40s and 50s. So I got one of those and they were filled with curves. And I think this is very typical, that we don't look at the knowledge in a visual way. And there we have a lot of things to learn. Remember one presentation with Alan Ward when he said that during the Second World War they gathered all the best in aviation, in creating a fighter plane. They created the Mustang in 20 months. It was record size. And then Alan said, today it takes 20 years because we use computers. And that is a risk, that we have the possibility to calculate everything, but we don't see it. And I think MVP is a good solution to minimize that. He also says that we should lead with entrepreneur system designer to be able to see what is really needed. And in the agile world, I think we have the product owner, we have the architects, so we have a good combination there as well, if we use it wisely. We need to create teams with responsible experts to be able to strive for perfection, but still being a team that works together. And that is something we recognize in the agile world, of course. We need to practice set-based innovation, working with many sets early and eliminate the worst all the time so that we get the right solution. Creating flow connected to visual management and planning so we can manage the differences and the difficulties in the flow and not only keep to the standard. And all this going towards a common true north. And if this is the lean product process development, the easiest way to look at Agile is the manifesto, even though it was created 20 years ago and for software. To say, okay, we have these four main principles. So a friend of mine did this combination, saying, okay, working software, we have a couple of connections, individual and interactions, responding to change, and finally customer collaboration. So say it's not really the major difference, and that we really need to keep it different. It is more about getting that Lean-agile injection to your product development to make the product development better. That's our viewpoint. Because then in the transformation side, we see that we have gone from the left mountain, where we really could do a good planning and then close us in and develop the perfect engine. We were in a market where fuel consumption is the key for customer value. We were leading against competition with 2% in a key figure that normally is measured in the tenth of liters. And during 7 years we developed the Scania Super Engine, which is our last big diesel engine project, and it was 8% better than the previous. So we're great in this, so why should we change? Well, we already know how to win. We have done profits every year since 1936. That's much better than our competition. So let's keep on. But the problem is that we're going into the right level where we have a high degree of uncertainty. We can't really look at the customer and see what the customer needs because they don't know. Does an electric bus company want to charge the bus in every stop or during night? Or do you want to change your batteries, or do you want to just keep the same battery for 10 years? There's lots of questions that we really don't know, that we need to probe and adapt and learn together with our customers. We're going more towards the right area, of course, more in autonomous solutions and electrification than in conventional diesel engines, but still it's the same also there in what we can expect. And we were working quite good with this transformation at Scania when we got another transformation on hand, because Scania is owned by TRATON, who has 4 brands: Scania, MAN in Germany, Navistar in the US, and Volkswagen in Brazil. So it's said we need to create a group R&D. So we're in the middle of that, in uniting our forces with the group R&D instead. It would have been easier if we had already had a transformation and completed a new normal situation for Scania before doing this, but we're not so lucky, so we have to do the voyage together. And then with different company cultures, we'll have these, where we have the Scania, where you have a task, and we say, okay, you have this role, and let's build it together. And we do it. This clashing with MAN saying we need to have this defined. What is the role exactly? What should I do or what shouldn't I do? And we also need to talk to the unions about this, because we can't just decide something ourselves. Then if you can use both ways of seeing it, and perhaps being a bit more exact when you start something, but still being able to iterate and learn together, that might be a very good combination. Because we have a common view on transforming transportation together for a sustainable world. And every brand has its own profile and market branding, but we want to do it together. So the first parts of doing that was to agree on the same core values within the company, where we were quite alike with the MAN, with the core values. Navistar did not have any. But we agreed on having customer first, which has always been a signal for Scania, respect for the individual we had. Team spirit, working together, and responsibility, doing the right thing and caring about the environment, and elimination of waste. And our friends have had most problem with the last part. And it took 10 years for Scania to adapt it totally also, so it's not so difficult to understand, because eliminate waste means that we have waste, and that should be bad. So we shouldn't have waste, so why admit it? But we have a lot of waste, and I think within our area in product development we have a lot of need of everyone's eyes and questioning everything we do, saying, is this really the right thing to do? Should we do it differently? Do we need this report or not? And so on. Because it can only be perceived from the inside, this waste. I have one story. A guy went to his manager and said, hey boss, I think we should stop this monthly report we always done. It's 50 pages long, and I don't think it really creates value anymore. And his boss got angry and said, but you need to understand, this is a very important deliverable for our group, so we shall continue with this, and this is very much asked for. Okay, he went out, came back a month later, and said, yes boss, I think this report is something we should stop doing. And his boss got even more angry and said, but I have already explained it. Yes, but look here, page 14, I put that if you've read this far, you are a very good person, and you can come down to my office and get a chocolate bar. No one came. So no one has read it until page 14. And that is one easy way to check if it's really needed. You can always talk to your customers also before doing that. But many times we think it's more important than it is. Another common thing we have in the group is the thinking model, where we go from the core values to principles of how to think, to the methods, how we work to get the results. And if the results are bad, we go back to the methods always to understand why didn't it work. And now if we see that we have a more disruptive environment, we need to increase velocity, we need to probe faster, then we need to change our methods. The principles may be just the same as before, but the methods need to be adapted to the new environment. So this is a strong way of getting common understanding also between us and the brands. And just to create a clear view of what we want to do with the transformation, we've put up these 6 or 4 areas. Speed and flexibility. We need to increase speed, maybe through flexibility, to be able to change direction. Even if we're almost ready, if it's the wrong project, we shouldn't continue with it. We need to develop and deliver solutions, not only products, and that we have another organization creating the services, so on. We see that very much in electrified vehicles, for instance, where we need to have the infrastructure also to be able to charge a truck or bus fast enough. We need to have more customer collaboration. We've always felt we've had that by being positive to people getting driver's license for heavy trucks, for buses, and going out and having a heavy truck for the weekend, for driving around and so on. But it's not enough, because we are not the customer, even if we might feel we are. So we need to work closer to the customer. We've always stressed we want to know the customer's customer, but even that isn't enough today, I believe. And it's very strong to be out with the customer and see the solutions. How are they really working? I went over to Norway once, and we passed over the mountains back, and it was an experience with a snowstorm and everything. And he said, do you want to help me with the chains? Because he had to put the chains on the wheels. I'm looking down the steep, and no, I would like to leave the truck, please. he went out, did everything. And it's quite interesting to see how it's used in the real environment, of course. And then last but not least, people engagement. We need to inspire and empower the employees even more to unleash the force that is. And I feel that the younger employees we have are more eager to do more. They are not so easily convinced that you should wait in line for your turn. They are much more hungry. So I think that is one important part of making this work also. And it's connected to making the decisions where you have the knowledge and everything. So timing is important. And of course, we want to work in value streams, where we put in all the silos to be able to deliver value faster. And it is about eliminating complexity, to be able to create global flows, focusing on solving the customer's issues, customer's problem. And one safe picture to give here, I think this is quite interesting because we said let's keep the site line organization and create the value flows. And this is an advantage because I felt somewhat we try to keep the organization moving towards value flows in itself. But then we also, when we suddenly have 4 brands to coordinate with, I've heard that as one of the excuses from our friends in Munich, saying, but first we need to standardize our organization. And the Scania manager said, no, that's the advantage with working with this. We don't need to agree on the same organization. We just need to agree on the same value flows. Then we can keep the organization as is. And of course, working with teams towards value creation teams. We started very much talking about value creation teams, or VCTs as we call it. It's almost like the art in SAFE. Still not. We stress that in the VCT is where the magic happens. So if you really want to make it work, you need to go up to a team of teams. Because if you do it in a working agile in this team is quite easy. But when you need to do it more scaled, cooperating with others, that's where you have the challenge. And then we see that it's not enough, so we have value coordination flows to coordinate like electrified vehicles or autonomous vehicles, and so on. And for this all to work, we have the challenge of having T-shaped teams or people. Perhaps start with people and then going over to the teams. But we still want to have experts. So that is a nice challenge to see how can we manage the mixture. Because if we have a silo organization where all specialists are working together, then it's easy to see that the main reason of being is to have all the calculation engineers calculating the most efficiently possible. And if we do trucks or not, it's not as important. So I think this is something we are discussing a lot and working more on understanding. And then we have always had a very practical view on what is then the solution. Because if it is the Toyota way or whatever, it's not really important. It's more important if it solves our problem or if it is in line with our principles. So we need to find the right tool for us, the right method. When I showed this picture the first time, I had one tool that was a duct tape, like this silver tape in Swedish, which you fix everything, leakage and everything. And everyone in the room was agreed on that was the tool that solves everything. so I had to remove it. Then jumping into some examples. Well, is it important if it's visual planning or if it's Scrum or if it's Kanban we work with? Or is it the principles behind? We want to work visible, we want to prioritize, we want to focus on deliveries and workload and manage deviations. That might be more important to look at, my feeling. And I did one presentation in 2008 at the Lean Forum in Sweden, where a colleague of mine, he presented Scrum. And everyone was very keen on saying, yes, that is IT, that's software. But Peter will talk about visual planning for hardware, so we understand how we do it there. So finally I went over to my friend and said, could I use your presentation? And I used his slides talking about visual planning instead, just to try to minimize the obstacle between this is for software, this is for hardware. Saying that it's not so different really. You need to understand why we do it. Then, knowledge gaps and set-based concurrent engineering. Start by thinking what kind of solutions do we have for this problem? And try to gather as much knowledge as possible so we can eliminate the inferior alternatives. And make all necessary decisions as soon as, or as late as possible. And of course, every arrow here that ends has a knowledge value. So there should be a dollar sign there. Because we know why it didn't work. Which means that the next time we are in the same situation, we know why it didn't work, because has the world changed, or can we continue with the same. Also here, we have supporting methods, rapid learning cycles, try to learn as fast as possible, what's the minimum value we can test and learn, use MVP thinking, work close to the customer. Then we have the favorite challenge for us is flow. How do we get the right flow? Well, it depends. You could have a very fast flow by just driving in the morning, very early in the morning, but it won't solve all our problems. So we really need to do this analysis in our work environment as well, to be able to see if what about our reality? Is it this or is it something else we should do? We use the SAFE framework as an inspiration because it's a summary of things that works for others. So SAFE might very well be a source of knowledge, and they might have exactly the knowledge we are looking for. But we should not implement SAFE. That's very dangerous if you see that, okay, throw away everything you have and just do SAFE and it will work. You need to use common sense. And one way of doing that is also to try to learn together. And book circles and reading books together is a very strong potential for me. Get a book, get a couple of books and a group that reads together and shares their vision and knowledge about it. And we try to write book A3s also to make a report on the book so that people could avoid reading the book, having a summary of the book. That requires a lot of the writer because we want to do it in a way so you don't need to read the book. But it is really a strong way of sharing knowledge as well. And look at books that are not exactly what you are working with. Right? Look for other inspiration as well. Not at least in the human side of things. Then I think many times every enterprise is different, so you need to find your own way. And this is the next LPPD conference, but it could well be Agile Tampere in the picture. saying start by attending something like this. Get inspiration and knowledge, and then try your own solution. Define hypotheses on what you want to do, run experiments, create pilots and learn together, and share and get feedback. And it's always great to be more than one from a company in an event like this, because then you have someone to discuss with, because otherwise you come home and have lots of ideas, but no one really interested. And always remember, if you keep doing what you've always done, you will get the same result as you've always gotten. So you need to change to be able to get some result. And ending with a picture from a friend in Argentina. So, thank you.